Hopefully you guys can hear me. It's really warm and the air conditioner is running on full tilt, so hopefully these videos will be able to be viewed and heard. So I'm doing some reading today. This is from the A Course in Miracles. This is a section on psychotherapy. It says that this is maybe a supplement to the Course in Miracles, but I'm going to read this here. Psychotherapy Introduction. Psychotherapy is the only form of therapy there is, since only the mind can be sick, only the mind can be healed, only the mind is in need of healing. This does not appear to be the case, for the manifestations of this world seem real indeed. Psychotherapy is necessary so that an individual can begin to question their reality. Sometimes he is able to start to open his mind without formal help. But even then, it is always some change in his perception of interpersonal relationships that enables him to do so. Sometimes he needs a more structured, extended relationship with an official therapist. Either way, the task is the same. The patient must be helped to change his mind about the reality of illusions. That was the introduction. This is the purpose of psychotherapy. Very simply, the purpose of psychotherapy is to remove the blocks to truth. Its aim is to aid the patient in abandoning his fixed delusional system and to begin to reconsider the spurious cause and effect relationship on which it rests. No one in this world escapes fear, but everyone can reconsider its causes and learn to evaluate them correctly. God has given everyone a teacher whose wisdom and help far exceeds whatever contributions an earthly therapist can provide. Yet there are times and situations in which an earthly patient-therapist relationship becomes the means through which he offers his greater gifts to both. What better purpose could any relationship have than to invite the Holy Spirit to enter into it and give it his own great gift of rejoicing? What higher goal could there be for anyone than to learn to call upon God and hear his answer? And what more transcendent aim can there be than to recall the way, the truth, and the life, and to remember God? To help in this is the proper purpose of psychotherapy. Could anything be holier? For psychotherapy, correctly understood, teaches forgiveness and helps the patient to recognize and accept it. And in his healing is the therapist forgiven with him. Everyone who needs help, regardless of the form of his distress, is attacking himself, and his peace of mind is suffering in consequence. These tendencies are often described as self-destructive, and the patient often regards them in that way himself. What he does not realize and needs to learn is that this self, which can attack and be attacked as well, is a concept he made up. Further, he cherishes it, defends it, and is sometimes even willing to sacrifice his life on its behalf, for he regards it as himself. This self he sees as being acted on, reacting to external forces as they demand, and helpless amidst the power of the world. Psychotherapy, then, must restore to his awareness the ability to make his own decisions. He must become willing to reverse his thinking and to understand that what he thought projected its effects on him were made by his projections on the world. The world he sees does therefore not exist. Until this is, at least in part, accepted, the patient cannot see himself as really capable of making decisions, and he will fight against his freedom because he thinks that it is slavery. The patient need not think of truth as God in order to make progress in salvation, but he must begin to separate truth from illusion, recognizing that they are not the same, and becoming increasingly willing to see illusions as false and to accept the truth as true. His teacher will take him on from there as far as he is ready to go. Psychotherapy can only save him time. The Holy Spirit uses time as he thinks best, and he is never wrong. Psychotherapy under his direction is one of the means he uses to save time and to prepare additional teachers for his work. There is no end to the help that he begins and he directs. By whatever routes he chooses, all psychotherapy leads to God in the end, but that is up to him. We are all his psychotherapists, for he would have us all be healed in him. Okay, I find a lot of that really interesting, because that seems to be the course. What the course does is it step by step through the workbook lessons, it begins to break down the concepts that we so strongly believe in as far as our value system and where we have placed importance, where we have delegated importance. And this speaks of the Holy Spirit, and anything, and they're talking about psychotherapy here, saying that when time is being used by the Spirit for the Spirit's wishes, then only good can come of it. So it's saying here that anything that is, okay, because time, we know time isn't real. Time is in and of itself is an illusion. But if time is being utilized, let's not even say used, utilized by the Holy Spirit to progress our soul's journey, to facilitate in a beneficial way our soul's journey, then this thing is good. So this is really interesting. Yeah. And because I've heard it said many times, and this is quite in alignment with everything else that I've read, and what I understand to be true. The world that we live in, the story, the world, the movie that is playing out, as I understand it, is upside down. And it is. It is upside down. Imagine a pyramid, okay? So you got us little guys are down here, right? And I've said in other videos. So here's your pyramid, and us little guys are down here, and you got the control mechanisms at the top with vast amount of finances, resources, assets, etc., and us little guys down here doing all the work to keep things going, struggle sometimes paycheck to paycheck, and that's just a view of the financial system, right? We rape, that's a strong word, we rape from the planet and give little back. See, that this pyramid is upside down. Absolutely upside down. So that makes sense then, that in alignment with the world that we live in being upside down, we believe what is good is bad and what is bad is good, and we're trained that way to benefit the top of the pyramid. No judgment, that's just what has been happening. So But this is really interesting because it was, I'm going to say it's because of the course that I started to question the things that I questioned and what has led me to this point. Let's go on to the next section. We're 10 minutes in. We'll go on to the next section. So this is the process of psychotherapy, and this is the introduction. And I will probably only read the introduction because it's got many different chapters, it looks like, on that, and I'm not sure that I want to get into all that. But the process of psychotherapy, this is the introduction. Psychotherapy is a process that changes the view of the self. At best, this new self is a more beneficent self-concept, but psychotherapy can hardly be expected to establish reality. That is not its function. If it can make way for reality, it has achieved its ultimate success. Its whole function, in the end, is to help the patient deal with one fundamental error: the belief that anger brings him something he really wants, and that by justifying attack, he is protecting himself. To whatever extent he comes to realize that this is an error, to that extent is he truly saved. Patients do not enter the therapeutic relationship with this goal in mind. On the contrary, such concepts mean little. On the contrary, such concepts mean little to them, or they would not need help. Their aim is to be able to retain their self-concept exactly as it is, but without the suffering that it entails. Their whole equilibrium rests on the insane belief that this is possible, and because to the sane mind it is so clearly impossible, what they seek is magic. In illusions, the impossible is easily accomplished, but only at the cost of making illusions true. The patient has already paid this price. Now he wants a better illusion. At the beginning, then, the patient's goal and the therapist's are at variance. The therapist, as well as the patient, may cherish false self-concepts, but their respective perceptions of improvement still must differ. The patient hopes to learn how to get the changes he wants without changing his self-concept to any significant extent. He hopes, in fact, to stabilize it sufficiently to include within it the magical powers he seeks in psychotherapy. He wants to make the vulnerable invulnerable and the finite limitless. The self he sees is his God, and he seeks only to serve it better. Regardless of how sincere the therapist himself may be, he must want to change the patient's self-concept in some way that he believes is real. The task of therapy is one of reconciling these differences. Hopefully, both will learn to give up their original goals, for it is only in relationships that salvation can be found. At the beginning, it is inevitable that patients and therapists alike accept unrealistic goals, not completely free of magical overtones. They are finally given up in the minds of both. Okay, I went ahead and read a little bit ahead here, and in this section, this is section 1. I'm not sure if it's laid out as a chapter in the book or not, because I don't think I have this one in print. I'm reading it off my computer. The limits of psychotherapy, and this is, I'm going to say, chapter 1, section 4. Ideally, psychotherapy is a series of holy encounters in which brothers meet to bless each other and to receive the peace of God. And this will one day, I'm so sorry, this computer keeps popping stuff up at me. And this will one day come to pass for every patient on the face of this earth. For who except a patient could possibly have come here, meaning the illusion, here, and we all happen to be there, The therapist is only a somewhat more specialized teacher of God, because he too is in the illusion. He learns through teaching, and the more advanced he is, the more he teaches, and the more he learns. But whatever stage he is in, there are patients who need him just that way. They cannot take more than he can give for now, yet both will find sanity at last. What I really like about this is, if there was any question in the beginning parts of what I read, this explains that not just the therapist, so we're going to say the psychotherapist is also the teacher, okay? But we are all that. We are all the teachers, and we are all the patients. Every human on this planet, and maybe even others, we're all in the illusion. And so we are patient and teacher. And if I'm a teacher in this moment, I am also the patient. And there is someone who is a better teacher, more knowledgeable, and better at communicating the message, more enlightened, we might say, has a greater understanding. And then I am the patient, and they are my teacher. So what this is saying is, at every stage of the game, at every stage of the story, there is a patient and a teacher, and a patient and a teacher relationship, a patient and a teacher, a patient and a therapist, however you want to see it. So this is really interesting, and I thought that was really great. And so I'm going to stop it here because I'm 16 minutes in, but I might put more videos up about this following. In peace and love, may you be blessed.